You think she wants your love, your loyalty, your tenderness. You believe that if you listen, if you understand, if you give her your soul, she will finally give you hers. That is the lie that keeps you tame, keeps you soft, keeps you weak. What she craves is not your kindness, it's your edge, your chaos, your darkness wrapped in discipline. She doesn't want the man who kneels. She wants the man who can destroy, yet doesn't. And the deeper truth, even she doesn't fully understand this hunger, because it lives in her shadow, just like yours. You were told to be good, to suppress the beast. But women are not drawn to men who neuter their fire. They are drawn to men who mastered it. Jung warned you, what's repressed does not disappear. It festers. And if you don't face your shadow, she will. And she will leave. Because only a man who conquers himself can possess the kind of power that makes a woman submit without understanding why. You think she respects your honesty, that by being transparent, open, emotionally available, you become a man worthy of her loyalty. But let me tell you the truth. Your soul already suspects. She doesn't want to see your heart. She wants to feel your grip, not on her body, on reality, on yourself, on the room. She tests you not to understand you, but to expose where you're weak. And the moment you break, the moment you explain, the moment you plead, that is the moment you die in her eyes. You don't understand female nature because you were trained to fear your own. They told you, suppress your instincts, restrain your impulses, kill your aggression. And now you walk around half alive, wondering why women aren't drawn to your softness. The answer is simple. A woman doesn't want a man who avoids his shadow. She wants a man who has walked through it, naked, alone, devoured by fire, and returned with eyes that see through the game. You think being harmless makes you virtuous, that she'll love you because you're not like the others. But what you call virtue, she sees as impotence. She doesn't want safety. She wants danger she can trust. The wolf with blood on its teeth who chooses not to bite, yet could. You gave her comfort. But comfort is not what makes her wet. It's not what makes her loyal. She longs for something older than your morality, your dominance, your silent command, the unspoken tension of a man who could walk away and never flinch. You say, but I'm a good man. And that's the problem. Goodness without strength is nothing. Women are not drawn to goodness. They are drawn to gravity. And gravity comes from depth, from pain, from a man who has stared into the abyss of himself and didn't blink. You think she'll choose you because you understand her. But understanding is not what women want. Mystery is. Power is. A man whose silence screams louder than your compliments. You gave her attention. She gave you indifference. You wrote her poems. She gave her body to a man who never texted back. Why? Because she doesn't fall in love with effort. She falls for the abyss, the unpredictability, the emotional chaos that makes her feel alive. The tragedy is, you used to have that chaos as a boy, before they tamed you, before school, before your mother, before religion. They domesticated you like a dog, and now you bark on command, hoping for her affection. But she's not attracted to lapdogs. She dreams of the wolf, the outlaw, the sovereign. You were taught to love like a servant, but women are not seeking servants. They're seeking gods. They want to kneel, but only to a man who doesn't need their devotion. The moment you beg, the moment you try to convince her, you've already lost. You've placed her on a pedestal and stepped down from your throne. And a woman will never love a man she does not look up to. Jung tried to warn you. He said, The feminine longs for the masculine not as comfort, but as container, not as emotional sponge, but as silent structure. If she is water, she seeks the shape that holds her. If she is chaos, she craves the man who does not flinch at the storm. But you became the storm yourself, emotional, reactive, desperate to be seen. And so she lost interest, not because she's cruel, but because your energy mirrored hers. And no woman is aroused by her own reflection. You wonder why she leaves you for men who treat her worse. The answer is brutal. She doesn't respect you. She pities you. You gave her your heart, but you lost your spine. You sacrificed the dragon to win the princess. And she loved the dragon, not the man who killed it. Your problem is not that you're too emotional. Your problem is that your emotions own you. You think feeling everything makes you real, but it makes you unstable. Women don't crave emotion. They crave containment. You believed love was enough, but love without power is slavery. She might sleep with the poet, but she'll marry the conqueror, because deep in her subconscious, coded in bone and blood, is the ancient truth. Only a man who can lead can protect, and only a man who can destroy is worthy of surrender. You thought vulnerability would bring intimacy, but she sees through the trick. Your vulnerability was a mask for your fear, and fear never seduces. It repels. You were told to be her equal, but she doesn't want a mirror. She wants a mountain, something unmoved, something eternal. She tests you because she hopes that maybe, just maybe, you won't crumble like all the others, that you'll stand, that you'll say no, that you'll walk away if she crosses the line. But you folded again, and she smiled. But deep down, she grieved, because now she must look elsewhere, not for love, but for respect. You were not born to be liked. You were born to be feared, respected, followed. And until you reclaim that birthright, until you let the fire consume everything false, you will never feel a woman's true devotion. Not the fake smiles, not the polite touches, but the kind that makes her eyes soften without words. That primal surrender, that sacred fear, that trembling obedience in the presence of something greater. You thought morality would make you worthy, that if you lived with integrity, if you were principled, disciplined, restrained, she would see your value. But she isn't watching your principles. She's watching your power, how you move when disrespected, how you respond when tested, whether your silence is fear or control. Women do not fall for the man who follows the rules. They fall for the man who writes them. The one who walks into a room and shifts its temperature without saying a word. You've been taught to seduce with words, but she listens with instincts, not ears. She senses the man behind the mask, and if what she finds is soft, unsure, obedient, she loses interest. Not because she wants cruelty, but because she cannot trust weakness. A man who cannot command himself cannot protect her. A man who bends to please will bend when threatened. And the feminine has no patience for men who flinch. You think submission is a negotiation? It's not. It's an offering, one that cannot be asked for, only inspired. You don't earn it with compliments or patience. You awaken it through presence, through the way you inhabit space, through the way your eyes strip away the lie before her lips finish speaking. You don't ask for her loyalty. You demand it without words, because your energy makes disobedience feel dangerous, not through violence, but through stillness. The kind of stillness only possessed by men who have died to weakness and returned sharpened. She wants your strength, not your suffering, your presence, not your pain. You think showing your wounds proves depth, but it only proves you're still bleeding. She doesn't want your healing journey. She wants to feel the man who already crossed hell, who carries its fire in his chest, who doesn't flinch when others scream. She doesn't want to mother you. She wants to submit to you. And submission is not a gesture of love. It's a reaction to power. And that's what no one tells you. Women are wired for hierarchy. Their love is not democratic. It is ruthless. They sort, they test, they discard. Not to be cruel, but because they cannot give themselves to what does not dominate them psychologically. She may smile. She may act sweet. But her biology is ancient. And that biology doesn't care about your feelings. It responds to one thing only: strength. Inner, unshakable, merciless strength. You believed if you listened enough, if you empathized, if you validated, she would soften. But she doesn't want a therapist. She wants a king, a man who listens not to please, but to rule, who doesn't react, but judges, who doesn't need to explain himself, because his being is the explanation. You explain. She disengages. You justify. She gets bored. You express need. She pulls away. Because your energy says, you are above me. And no woman desires what she dominates. You were taught to chase her. But women don't trust men who chase. They trust men who lead, who walk forward with or without her, who offer their presence, not their pursuit. The more you chase, the more you reveal. I am replaceable. I am desperate. I am dependent. And the feminine despises dependency because it wants to collapse into something that doesn't move when she pushes. And you move, you bend, you apologize, and she dies inside, one compromise at a time. You don't realize the game you're in. Love is not unconditional, not hers, not yours. She loves you for the man you are in motion, for how you hold frame, for how you silence a room with your posture, not your voice, for how you make her feel small, not by shrinking her, but by being vast. She craves a mountain she can orbit, not a mirror she can manage, but you look to her for identity, for validation, for permission, and in doing so, you became a child, not a man. Freud said it clearly. Beneath every civilized desire is a primitive drive. And for women, that drive is not comfort. It is surrender. You gave her softness. She needed steel. You gave her praise. She longed for pressure. You gave her equality. She wanted hierarchy because her soul, ancient and brutal, whispers in her blood, "Find the one who does not need me, and I will kneel," not from fear, from instinct, from reverence, from awe. You thought transparency would bring trust, but it brought exposure, because your openness was not strength. It was need, disguised as virtue, and she saw through it. She always sees through it. You didn't bleed strength, you bled desperation, and that scent kills attraction. She doesn't want to fix you. She wants to feel the weight of you, the raw immovability of a man who stands when others tremble, who looks at chaos and remains cold, not cruel, cold, controlled, contained. You wonder why she lies, why she withdraws, why she toys with you. It's not always malice. Sometimes it's instinct. She is pressing, probing, provoking, searching for the edge, the boundary, the threat, not to feel unsafe, but to feel safe in your command. She needs to feel your line, the one that says, "You may come close, but you do not rule me." When you don't draw it, she escalates, not because she wants to dominate, but because she needs to be stopped. And when you don't stop her, she walks away and finds someone who will. You didn't lose her because you were too emotional. You lost her because your emotions owned you. You lost her because she became your purpose. And no woman wants to be a man's god. She wants to follow one, to be engulfed by something larger than herself, a mission, a code, a presence. And the moment you orbit her instead of your mission, she becomes your sun, and then she burns you. Because women do not admire orbiters. They follow gravity. You were never meant to be her equal. You were meant to be her storm. Not chaotic, but inevitable, unstoppable, a force of becoming. The man whose shadow swallows the room, who walks with ancient violence beneath modern silence. And until you become that, until you embrace the ruthless, sacred, feral masculine, she will never kneel, not fully, not truly, because her heart is wired for one truth. Only the man she cannot control can ever truly have her. You still believe love is fair, that if you give more, open more, prove more, she'll finally choose you. But love was never about fairness. Love is judgment. Brutal, unconscious, unrelenting judgment. Every touch, every silence, every glance from her is a verdict, a measuring, a scanning of your spine, of your presence, of the masculine architecture behind your smile. And when she doesn't feel it, she drifts, not because she's evil, but because her nature does not tolerate fragility draped in virtue. She doesn't care that you mean well. She cares if you dominate the space. She cares if her body reacts before her mind even understands why. And that reaction doesn't come from kindness. It comes from threat, from spiritual gravity, from the unshakable awareness that you could take her, break her, leave her, and yet you choose not to. That is what makes her submit. Not your poetry, not your loyalty, your danger, controlled. But you gave her transparency. You confessed. You explained your wounds, your needs, your fear of abandonment. And with every word, she saw the boy behind the man. The boy who wanted to be loved more than he wanted to be respected. And so she smiled, nodded, maybe even cried with you. But something inside her dried up, because the moment she saw you needed her more than you commanded her, the spell broke. You believed the lie, that your vulnerability is strength. It isn't, not to her. Not unless it's laced with power, unless it's a glimpse of the fire you control, not the one that controls you. You didn't show her a man healing. You showed her a man bleeding. And no woman builds her nest on top of blood. You blame her for not appreciating your love. But she was never seeking love. She was seeking frame, seeking the unspoken no behind your calm eyes, seeking a man who makes her feel safe in her surrender, because his soul does not tremble when challenged. And you trembled, you begged, you opened the gates, you gave her everything, and she felt nothing. You thought the prize was her heart, but the prize was never her. The prize is you, the self you lost, the wild, untamed edge you amputated to become acceptable. You want her back? Don't text her. Don't explain. Don't become softer. Become more exact, more silent, more sovereign. Reforge the edge, not for her, but for you. And in doing so, you become the man she never truly met, the man she imagined in the moments between your weakness, the ghost of what you could have been, had you not chosen peace over power. But you chose peace, you chose comfort, you chose harmony, and in doing so, you became replaceable, disposable, because the man who cannot confront the chaos inside himself will always be discarded by the chaos outside. Women don't discard men because they're evil. They discard them because they're irrelevant. And irrelevance is the death sentence of the masculine. You want her to miss you, but she doesn't miss softness. She misses gravity. She misses presence. You miss the man who could command the room with a look, who didn't need her, who was dangerous, not in action, but in essence. She doesn't cry for the boy who needed her love. She craves the man who could walk away without a sound. You thought equality would bring harmony, but equality neuters polarity. And without polarity, desire dies. She doesn't want a partner. She wants a polarity. She wants the spark, the charge, the masculine current that makes her feel feminine. And when you offered equality, you killed the current. You smoothed every edge. You made yourself safe. And in doing so, you became invisible. You believed being a good man was enough. But good is not strong. Good is not captivating. Good is not memorable. The world is full of good men with empty beds and broken hearts, because good without danger is forgettable. Women don't worship good. They worship force, direction, the flame that doesn't flicker when blown. You still don't get it. She doesn't want to feel like you're everything. She wants to feel like a storm that you can walk through unfazed, not because you don't care, but because you're centered, grounded, anchored in something deeper than approval. She wants to collapse into your presence without questioning if it will hold, and when it doesn't, she disappears, slowly, silently, not with rage, but with indifference, because the feminine doesn't destroy what it doesn't respect. It simply forgets. You thought love was a refuge, but to her, love is a mirror. And when she looked into you, she didn't see God. She saw a man pretending, a man performing strength while rotting inside. And that's when she left. Not your bed, not your life, but your gravity. And when a woman leaves your gravity, her body is just a formality. You still want her back. But the truth is, she was never yours. She belonged to the man you were supposed to become, the man you buried beneath guilt, beneath shame, beneath social approval. And now she walks with ghosts, the ghost of the man she wanted, the ghost of the man you could have been. So stop chasing her. She is not the reward. She is the test, the trial, the fire meant to awaken you. She's not the prize. She's the portal. And once you realize that, everything changes. She never wanted your love. She wanted your edge, your command, your danger wrapped in silence. And when you buried that to win her, you lost her. Because she was never looking for a man who would kneel. She was searching for a man she could kneel to without being asked. So understand this. She doesn't crave peace. She craves presence. She doesn't want safety. She wants submission. And submission cannot be forced. It must be inspired by a man who does not chase, who does not explain, who does not need. The only man who wins is the one who stops playing their game